Hey everyone, Pup Twix here from Orlando, Florida. And just want to take a quick minute and talk about our National Coming Out Day today, October the 11th. Knowing that coming out is probably one of the scariest things that we will ever do, especially to our family. And so I wanted to put together a video here of some pups and their coming out story. So you're going to hear from Pup Nibbler from Portland, Oregon, from Pup Oren from Orlando, Florida, Roscoe Pup from Springfield, Massachusetts, and wrapping it up with Sterling the Steam Pup from right here in Orlando, Florida. I hope you enjoyed getting to hear these coming out stories. Please subscribe, like, share, comment on them. Let them know that you support them and leave them comments. Reach out to them as well because all their social media will be included, so you can reach out to them individually if you'd like to. But I hope you enjoy. And this is Pup Twig saying Happy National Coming Out Day. Hey everyone, it's Pup Twigs here from Orlando, Florida on our National Coming Out episodes. And joining me today from Portland, Oregon is Pup Nibbler. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for
Aw-
having me.
Awesome. I love having pups all over the country and all over the
Yeah.
world here. So this is tied around our National Coming Out Day, which will be October the 11th, 2024. And I just want to give any pup that wants to just a platform to, tell us your coming out story.
Yeah, totally. Well, I grew up in a conservative small town in Southern California. So when I was younger, I always felt a little bit different. I didn't really know what that meant until I got older. Um, and probably around, I remember like having little crushes on male celebrities when I was a kid, and it was something that I sort of knew about myself but didn't fully understand. It wasn't until I was about maybe like a freshman in high school that I really started to consider, well, maybe I might be gay. Um,
Mhm.
but I went to a private Christian school, so being gay at that school was uh, not allowed,
Okay.
to say the least. Um, so there was a lot of pressure on me to keep it secret. I remember one of my classmates came out and he actually got pulled out of school by his parents. And so seeing that happen to somebody that I knew who I was sort of close with, it was really scary for me uh, to kind of see the consequences of what would happen if I were to be more open about who I am. And so I didn't really talk about it. I had some close friends who eventually I did start to talk to about it, but it took me some time to get there. It was a um, very, uh, yeah, just a very scary experience to think, that these feelings that I'm having about myself or other people could have very big life-changing consequences.
Mhm.
Um, Fortunately, I picked the right friends. It was quite an ordeal. I think in general, as queer people, we sort of kind of gravitate to one another. I later found out that um, most of, if not all of the friends that I came out to, we all later came out to each other at different times. Um, so that was kind of the easy part, was finding people that I trusted, that were kind of in the same boat as me. Um, and I found a little bit of a small community um, within my social group. Um, it was something that I would frequently talk to about with them, but otherwise I would never talk to my family about it. I remember feeling That was about the time when I first started to deal with depression. And I think that was very heavily influenced by like hiding this very big part of myself that was only getting bigger. And so I started journaling about it, and um, I would talk about my silly little high school crushes. I would talk about feeling like I was different, and kind of that fear that came with like knowing that I couldn't really reveal this about myself. Um, and so my journal sort of became one of the biggest outlets for me to like express who I am and sort of process how I'm feeling. Um, and um, I used to keep my journal underneath my mattress, which is probably one of the last places you should hide it if you're actually trying to hide it. That's the one place everyone thinks to look. Um, and one day my mom sits me down and is like, "So I found this notebook under your mattress. I was changing your sheets. I thought maybe this might be like a school notebook. I read it.
Mm.
What is this?" And it was such a I felt the wind fully knocked out of me. I didn't know how to respond. I was completely caught off guard. Um, and I didn't really know how to respond. To be honest, the conversation is a little bit hazy for me at this point. I just remember feeling very small, feeling like I didn't have the words to express, and I was scared. I mean, seeing what happened to my friend, I was expecting some kind of big, scary, severe consequences for me. Um, and so, um, I sort of was just like, I, I don't know what to tell you. I think I'm gay. And so we both cried. I, at the time, it felt awful, scary, and
Mhm.
I felt so much betrayal and distrust. And I remember feeling when I was younger, looking forward to the day that I could come out and be honest. And I remember thinking about what it'd be like. How am I going to tell my mom what it's gonna feel like, and planning that conversation. And then all of a sudden, all of that got pulled out from under me. I didn't really have that opportunity anymore, and I was sort of forced out of the closet. And I remember going forward sometime after that, it was just such an awkward thing being in that house. I remember sitting around the dinner table just was a lot quieter. I didn't know how to fill that space. I didn't know how to go back to just how things were. It was just such an uncomfortable feeling knowing that people knew this thing that I was ashamed of about myself, and nobody really knowing how to talk about it.
Right.
Um, Eventually, my mom um, took me to see a therapist. And I only ever had one session with them because they asked me what I was there for. I said, because my mom found out I'm gay. I've been a little bit depressed. They asked me about how I've been coping with that. I told them I've been journaling. I talked to my friends about it. And they kind of came to the conclusion that I was pretty well adjusted for what was going on, and it sounded like I was coping well. And at the time, I was under the impression that my mom was sort of taking me there to find out like why am I gay? How do I stop being gay?
Right.
And it wasn't until later that I found out that my mom took me because I specifically said in my journal that I was feeling depressed, and it was more about my mental health than it was my sexuality. And it was sort of rough being at a religious private school where I could be more or less expelled
Mhm.
uh, or punished in some way for being gay. Um, so I uh, did the thing that I think a lot of Christian queers do is go back into the closet, pray a lot, and then kind of delude ourselves into thinking that God has delivered us and that we're no longer gay and everything's okay. And that worked for a little while, but then it never really truly stops because that's who you are, you know?
Exactly.
Um, so I sort of went back into the closet, and then it wasn't until my senior year that I started to feel a lot more comfortable with who I am. I continued talking to my friends about being gay, being queer, um, and I really started to kind of come into my own. At that point, I was a little bit less fearful of the consequences of coming out because I was in my senior year. It didn't really matter as much. I was going to be done with school anyway. Um, I looking back, I feel very like fortunate for how things went, even though it wasn't exactly how I had planned. I couldn't ask for a better mom. I think that she was doing everything that she could that she thought was best for me. And, looking back, I can honestly say that I wasn't really ever afraid that I was going to lose my housing. I was never really afraid that I was going to be um, sort of disowned. I
Mhm.
was, I was fearful of that as a possibility because, that's sort of the narrative that a lot of us grew up with. Um, and seeing that that was a possibility was frightening, but that was never really something that I truly thought was a reality from my mom. Um,
Sure.
she she uh she was just doing everything that she thought was right. And like coming out or finding out that your kid is gay is at that time it was a lot more of a curveball and she just didn't know what to do. She was a single mom and didn't really have um support from a partner to kind of discuss how to do this. So it was
Yeah.
really just all on her to figure out how to deal with this. And so she saw her kid struggling, going through a hard time, and um, she never made me feel um, like being gay uh, was a problem. I think a
Hmm.
lot of that was just self-imposed. I was afraid that it was going to be a problem, so I reacted as if it was.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I got older that we sort of like started talking about it more, and I realized that um, she was more just afraid for me, like knowing that my life was going to be sort of different than she was expecting, and
Hmm.
seeing that people like me are treated differently, or bullied, or harassed, and all of the awful things that come with living where we were, living at that time. Um, and, she just wanted to protect me. Um, and I feel very fortunate that I sort of just, um, like skated around all of the bullying. I kept a pretty low profile at school, so I wasn't really a target for bullying.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a period where people sort of suspected that I'm gay, and there were rumors. People kind of talked about it. No one ever really confronted me about it.
Hmm.
But it was the extent of my bullying at school was just people talking shit,
Yeah.
and
Of course.
and most of it was not directly to me. And after that, when I came out, I even still experienced very minimal harassment or bullying. There were a couple of times where, people uh, shouted faggot at me when I was just trying to do some grocery shopping. And, that was really hard for me to deal with because it wasn't something that I nothing had prepared me for that because I hadn't experienced that before. And um, it uh, it also was like scary because I didn't know, like, if somebody is willing to shout a slur at you so casually, what else are they willing to do?
Oh, sure.
Um,
Yeah.
and um, so once once I sort of accepted the fact that I'm gay, things were a lot easier for me. I decided to move out of my hometown, and went up to San Francisco, sort of like what I thought was the gay mecca at the time. And it did turn out to be a lot easier. I mean, I met more people who were like me. I met my first boyfriend there, and um, it was there that I actually learned a little bit more about um, like transgender and non-binary
Yeah.
identities, and that was something that really resonated with me. So after spending some time living in San Francisco, I realized that I'm also non-binary. I didn't realize that that was even uh, like a way that someone could be,
Hmm.
it felt like another like self-discovery, which it was. And so at that point, that was probably 2013, around then, I started using they, them pronouns. I changed my name, um, and it sort of felt like uh, sort of that same feeling of like, well, I'm different, and are people going to accept me? Are people going to respect me? Some people do, some people don't, and how do I deal with that? Um,
Yeah.
and I think at that point, I experienced more um, discomfort or more. Um, I don't want to say harassment because I was never really harassed, but I was definitely like treated differently.
Hmm.
Um, Especially sort of in the earlier days when I was like I'm assigned male at birth and I started to present a little bit more femininely. Um, at that time, I was wearing more makeup. I was wearing like skirts and dresses. And so people didn't really know how to respond to me. Um, and that was really hard. I feel like at that point, it also became more challenging for me to have a relationship with my family, because they didn't really understand where I was coming from, and because of the distance, it was hard for them to sort of see me that way. And um, I sort of pulled back from my family a lot, and sort of just relied on more like local friends and community that I found. Eventually, um, San Francisco got too expensive for me, so I migrated a little bit further north and ended up in Portland. And I feel like it wasn't really until I got here that I started to really get to like feel like I could breathe,
Yes.
and be more comfortable. Um, Portland sort of was where I saw uh, more people who identified as non-binary or transgender, just like San Francisco is where I found more people who identified as gay. Um, and so here, I feel a lot more safe, and that's not to say that I am like fully safe.
Yeah.
I at this point in my life, I have Um, I mean, I've sort of become a different person every couple of years, if not months, and so at this point, I am not as femme presenting, so I don't really get a lot of attention that way. Um, my wardrobe is uh, less skirts and dresses, but more crop tops, and so I still get some attention, but it's not as focused. It's not as like gender policing because I'm still like maybe I think I'm read more as like an effeminate man than I was read as a transgender woman or non-binary person. Um, so I think that has sort of given me a little bit of uh, fielding from people's attention and people's uh, whatever sort of like weird feelings they might have about people like me. Um,
So at this stage, what is your relationship with your family?
I have a good relationship with my mom. I talk to her couple times a week, if not more.
Good.
We talk on the phone all the time. I feel like she's one of my best friends at this point. I've really started to be a lot more open and honest with her about what's going on in my life. Um, I feel like I can talk more candidly to her about my depression or my anxiety. Um, I am polyamorous and I'm in a an open polyamorous relationship. I've talked to her about my partner and my partner's partner, um, and she's met my boyfriend, and it it's it was sort of like a weird thing to talk to her about, but
Hmm.
I mean, even though she doesn't like fully understand, she's really supportive.
Yeah.
Um, I don't have as close a relationship with my siblings as I used to and as I would like to. But that's not to do with like my sexual identity or gender identity. Um, it's mostly just that I find it hard to make the time to pursue a relationship, and I we all live so far away from each other. Um, I'm also autistic, so like relationships in general tend to be difficult for me, and so a lot of the distance um, that I have from my family is because I'm creating that distance. I know that they love me. I know that they support me. Um, everyone in my family has been respectful of changing my name and my pronouns. Um, it was like um, sort of uncomfortable at first when I changed my name. I think that was a hard one for everyone.
Hmm.
But no one was really like defiant, like I'm gonna call you by your dead name because I don't think that's who you are.
Right.
It was never like that. It was more just like I'm sorry, I'm trying, but I cannot get used to calling you this because I've known you for 20 plus years and like this is the only name we've ever used.
Yeah.
Um, which at the time I took very like uh offensively. I was like, no, you should get it right immediately. And I was not very forgiving. I was very sort of like militant about it and very I would get my feelings hurt when people put in make changes immediately. So I didn't really handle the situation with as much grace as I could have extended. And
Yeah.
now that I have like settled into more of the person who I am, like I get it. It's hard. And I totally understand where they were coming from. If I could do it all over again, like I would be so much more gentle with them. I would be so much more understanding. Um, and I think that uh, I don't know, it's hard to
I know
I think
it's.
that
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think that was the hardest part of coming out in all of those ways is just later as a more fully formed adult realizing like, wow, I really like I know the situation could have gone better from like outside of my control, but the things that I could control, I really could have done better, and I wish that I had. But um, you know, I didn't know any better at the time, and so I got to remember to be at this point more forgiving of myself. And I was doing what I thought was right. And, you know, now I have the opportunity to extend that grace and that forgiveness now.
Yeah. Well, it's always good to see that the end part of it, that the family is still there, and that's what I hope for everybody. I know it's not always the case,
Yeah.
but it's good to hear that you have your relationship with your mom, because your mom's your number one fan and probably always
Yeah,
will be. And
absolutely.
it's just good to hear that. Now, is it okay to ask your age now?
Yeah, I am 33, going on 34 in a couple of months.
All right, so you came out very early. I wish I had, but mine was 34 when I came out. So yeah,
Hmm.
it was something. But I totally get your story. I get the whole thing about, religion and Catholic schools and things like that, that you just can't be who you want to be at that time.
Yeah. It's like nobody really can, but then there's also like, I really can't.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's say there's somebody that views this on National Coming Out Day, and they're right on the edge trying to decide whether they should or shouldn't. What advice would you give them?
Ooh. Um, It's really hard to say because there's so many other factors. I would say just I think what's most helpful is to really know yourself and to spend a lot of time reflecting on what's best for me. I can't speak for whether or not it's right for somebody to come out because I don't know everything that goes on in their life. So I was very fortunate to have a family where um, you know, this wasn't something that was going to disown me. This wasn't something that was going to leave me uh houseless. This wasn't something that was going to leave me without support that I needed, but that's not true for everybody. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't.
Yeah,
As uncomfortable with where I was living at the time, um, being uh, being who I am, like a young, light-skinned, male-presenting person. Uh, I wasn't really in any sort of immediate threat of danger, but um, for younger for queer people of color living in certain areas, they might be under a lot more immediate threats of violence than I was.
yeah,
So I think it's important to recognize, you know, what are the things that are going to be immediate consequences of me coming out.
right.
And you know, sometimes it, as much as it feels empowering and liberating to get to say like this is who I am. Sometimes you can't do that safely. And I think it's important to really consider um, how is this going to affect my immediate circumstances? Is it more important for me to hide this important part of myself for my own safety, or am I in a place where I can speak up about who I am? Do I have the support um, to to make it through this process if I do come out?
Yeah,
You know, sometimes if you do have a family that's not going to be supportive, but you have um, friends and a community that you can go to for support, um, then yeah, absolutely lean on that support and do what feels right for you.
Awesome.
But uh, yeah, I feel like I was very fortunate in a lot of ways, and I don't think that everybody has that same privilege that I did
Right.
when I
No,
came out.
you're right because I hear a lot of stories, and there's some that have a pretty rough time about it. So we were some of the lucky ones that
Yeah.
that did not have our family did not disown us and throw us to the street because of it. So,
Mhm.
well, I just want to thank you for your time. Thank you for opening up and telling us your story. It was amazing, and I doubt this is the last time that we'll talk. I'm sure we'll get to do this more. But again, I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I am very excited to check out this episode and see what else you do with your podcast. And
Awesome.
I really appreciate you extending the invitation for people to share their stories and putting them out there to sort of give other people the opportunity to sort of learn from our experiences.
No, no doubt. Well, thank you again, and we'll be talking again soon.
All right, wonderful. Thank you.
Hey everyone, it's Pup Twigs here from Orlando, Florida, and joining me on this special episode of Unleashed is Pup Oren out of Orlando, Florida as well. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am doing really good. So, as people guess, it's all about our National Coming Out Day, and uh, just wanted to find out about your coming out story.
Oh, okay. Well, it's a two-parter.
Okay.
So I came out pretty late to my family. You know, I always knew, I think most people, like all of us did, like I came out, the doctor slapped my back and I was like, that's what I'm talking about. I like the dudes.
Yes.
So yeah, I knew from a very young age, but I grew up in a small town in Kentucky, wasn't necessarily, in the early 80s was not not the time to come out in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Um, but I came out to my friends, my chosen family, a lot earlier, when I first started understanding it, and it was late. I was probably early 20s before I started telling people and really discovering what it was like. Um, as a matter of fact, when I first came out, I told somebody I was actually I was in Orlando. I was working at Universal, and somebody told me about the Full Moon Saloon, which was the bear bar here in Orlando.
Yes.
And the very first gay club, the very first thing I ever did, I went to Full Moon, and it was bear bust.
Oh,
Uh,
man.
it was crazy. It was a night. But it was really cool. Yeah, so I met a lot of good. It was a good way to come out. Like going to that event and just I was surrounded by, the bear community and um, made some friends really quickly and really kind of started understanding what it meant and all the different, parts of it. That kind of gave me the confidence later to come out to my family. My it's kind of funny. I was always afraid to come out to my mom. It was just me, my mom, my sister. We had already, there was a lot of bad stuff happening with my dad, but
Hmm.
I was having a hard time coming out to my mom because there's another person in her life that she did not get along with, and I always thought it was because that person was gay. And
Oh,
turns out they just don't like each other, and it had nothing to do with it. So I was probably 26-ish before I told my family.
mm-hmm.
Um, and they were like, "We know, we've always known. We're just waiting for you to tell us."
You just
So
needed that confirmation.
yeah, 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 yeah. So, but no, it was yeah, I wish I hadn't waited so late.
Yeah.
I was kind of nervous. I had a lot of stuff, growing up, in Kentucky, I grew up in the church and for a while was really religious and tried to play both of those things. And, I got a lot of crap. I got kicked out of the church. I had friends. I played in a Christian band and those guys were like my brothers. And, I got kicked out of the band. They stopped talking to me. Um, it was a really hard time. I was really angry. I had to go
Hmm.
through some anger management and some therapy to try to figure out how to deal with all that and just understand the hate and bigotry that comes with it. But luckily, you know, finding that group and finding it so quickly and starting to build a network of, you know, friends that help me get through to understand that not all people are like that and I think it's those those commercials that got really popular where it's like, oh, it gets better. Uh,
Yes.
that was really, really true for me. My my nephew is trans. He's um he's young. He came out at like 13 or 14. And
Wow.
we were all open and accepting and he had a much easier time, but then he has the whole trans thing to deal with as he's transitioning, from a guy to a girl.
Yeah.
A lot of ways, I think the younger generation has it easier, but maybe just as hard, um, depending on what they're doing. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like the younger generation, because in public, it seems more how was it, accepting
Yeah.
than it used to. I mean, I didn't come out till I was 34, so it
Oh,
was
wow.
definitely late in life for me. I was actually married and have three kids before I knew all along I was, but again, back to you, a small town, a rural town, I couldn't come out, and
Yeah.
I just had to try to play the straight life, and
Yeah, yeah. I didn't go that far, but I was engaged to a girl. Still love her actually. She was amazing. She actually might be the first person I ever told we were engaged to be married. She decided she was going to go away to college. Super smart girl. She was
hmm.
going to college and she decided not to. She was going to stay and we were going to get married. And some stuff went down one night and we ended up, oddly enough, I know it sounds weird, where I was in high school is kind of on the coast, and they have these big giant drainage ditch to where the water can run out so it doesn't flood. We ended up sitting in one of those like sewer pipes for, I don't know, 14 hours, and I just unloaded everything and told her everything.
Oh wow.
She was amazing. She cried and she was a little sad, but she never told anybody that I was gay. She just said that we had decided mutually that she was going to go away to school and we were going to put our our engagement on hold. Uh, it's probably one of the kindest things anyone has ever done for me in my entire life. She didn't out me. She didn't tell anybody. Still keep in touch with her to this day. She's married and has three kids. She is literally a brain surgeon.
Wow.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But yeah, it's funny how like the small town syndrome will push you into that.
Oh, I know it really is.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, you were still younger than I was when I came out and everything, and it sounds like that your experience with your family was more so a positive one. Which sometimes I all too often hear really bad stories where they're basically kicked out that night, and
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
just sad to hear.
For sure. I did yeah, actually it's funny, my sister, she was so happy. She went to we were very involved with a local improv comedy club here in Orlando at
Hmm.
that time. And my sister worked down there and she had a bunch of friends down there. And the day I told her, um, we went down to the club like we normally do to see some shows, and she was just telling everybody, I'm like, that's not how this works. You don't get to out me, I get to. She was just so happy and so excited that, she had a gay brother. So that was really good.
Oh man.
But you're right. There is a lot of I did a lot of volunteering at the Gay and Lesbian Community Center here in Orlando.
Mhm.
Just to try to get involved and help, because there is a lot of that. And there's like, we have the theme parks here in Florida, and some of the things that nobody sees when they go to the theme parks, that the people working there are real people, and a lot of them are are struggling. They're gay, they're trans, they're a lot of members of our community, and they don't have their family support. And those they build a family there.
Right,
I saw
right.
a lot of that working there. I worked at Universal for 10 years, and just, you know, the horror stories you had where there wasn't support and things
Hmm.
like that. So yeah, that's pretty sad.
Yeah, it really is, and I'm just glad that, so far the all the pups that I've talked to have had a uh, pretty much a positive coming out, which is good to hear. But I know there's some that's had it quite rough, and those are the ones we need to gang around and help.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah. There's a lot of we donated a lot and tried to do a lot for the what's it called? I can't remember. It's been a few years now since I've been associated with it. There's an organization here in Orlando that reaches out to gay youth and gives them a place to live and stay. And
It's not
uh,
Zebra Coalition, is it?
Libra, thank you so much, Zebra Coalition. I used to donate to them and help out and volunteer there as well. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's really sad that in this day and time that we're still talking about this. And it actually feels like I thought we were making so much progress, and right now it feels like it's all reversed and going the wrong way.
Oh yeah, it seems like they're trying to put us back in the closet.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and it's really sad because this whole time that we have been able to pretty much live free the way we want to live, did it hurt anybody? Absolutely not. But they want us to go back.
It's so it's so weird the dynamic. Like so a couple of years ago I went to a pup play day in the park, and it's just a bunch of pups in the park, and we were like moshing around and having fun or whatever. And they were like, it wasn't sexual. It was just we were just having fun and just being pups. We had kids and their parents come up, and they were like playing fetch, and like it was just a lot of really cool like fun time. But then you had some people who were just like, you know, oh, those kids shouldn't be playing with those puppies like that. Like that's not okay. I don't know. Like why do we have to turn everything into crap when it's just, it's
It's just
it's
people having
fun.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's horrible that way, but well,
Yeah.
I am glad that we got to touch base again and hear a little bit about your story. Now, you said you were early 20s when you started coming out to your friends.
Yeah, I was probably around 24-ish maybe.
Can I ask now how old you are?
Yeah, I'm 47.
Okay, all right. So you've been out a long time, same
Yeah.
with me, 34 and 59. So yeah, I've been out quite some time, but I always like to use that as a reference for those that want to mention their age and stuff. Some of them don't, and I totally respect that as well. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a good long run. My aunt is actually a lesbian. Um I don't know. My family is pretty open and accepting. She was born in the mid to early 50s. My
hmm.
grandfather, was born in 1909. And when she came out, you know, being the amazing man he was really my dad. He raised me, and he taught me really what it was to be a man and a good person.
Yeah.
Uh, and he the the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, and all that. It was just not. the greatest time to be gay. But you know, when she came out, he was super supportive. He led the family through you know, their their feelings and you know, was like, we're gonna support her, we love her, it doesn't matter, it is what it is. And he was such a great guy in a time where they didn't, not everybody was like that.
Right.
So yeah, I was really, really blessed and lucky to have a family that was supportive, you know, with it. So yeah,
Well,
that's just a thing.
any last words or words of encouragement for those young ones that are just on the fence trying to decide should they come out or not?
Oh, yeah, I think, you know, I don't want to push anybody in any specific direction. You got to do what's right for you at the time. But what I will say, you know, there is if you're struggling with coming out, especially if you're suffering from depression and you're hurting and all that, I just would, you know, tell you that even if you don't feel it right now, or even if, you know, your family isn't showing to you, you are important,
Hmm.
um, and your life matters. And you may not see it right now, but you get through it, and at some point, you know, you had to go through it for a reason, and it'll hopefully make sense. But there is so much help out there. You know, if you need to come out, you know, you can contact the center in your area, or the Zebra Coalition in your
Hmm.
area, or whatever that there's places to get help. You know, there's a lot of us online, you know, all the different apps and Facebooks, you know, just start talking to people. There are places you can go if you have to come out and you're not supported, you know, find the people or reach out to the people that will help you. It's not going to happen immediately. You know, there's a lot of people that you know, say that they'll help and maybe not there, but there are some of us out there that really do care, and your life is important. And you know, don't hold it in until the point where you do something, you know, stupid, because, you know, we don't we don't need to lose you
That's right.
because
That's
you
right.
are not in an environment where you can come out. You know, there are places you can go to do it.
Yeah. Well, it was a pleasure getting to talk to you and hear your story. I really appreciate you sharing it with us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad I got the opportunity. Plus, it's always a great time to talk to you. So
Well, thank you. Thank you. And hopefully you'll see each other in about a little over a week. So,
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for doing this. Like, the things that you're doing are just so, I don't know. It's very comforting. Like, you know, doing this with the coming out and the unleashed that you do, like just getting it out there and doing those things. It's really important. It just speaks to the great person that you are. And I appreciate it, even if nobody else tells you, but I'm sure you get it all the time. So
I've started hearing from a lot more people, which is awesome. And I think it's because I'm doing all these special type presentations as well, not just doing the unleashed part of it. So I think that makes a big difference.
absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, enjoy the rest of your night, and I'm sure I will be talking to you again very soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Hey everyone, it's Pup Twigs here. Along with my guest is Roscoe Pup from Springfield, Massachusetts. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good. This episode of Unleashed is really all tied to the National Coming Out Day, which is October the 11th. And I just wanted to get a group of pups together to talk about their coming out story and, kind of help us out a little bit with it. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Roscoe Pup.
Oh my God. Okay. So, where to start? My coming out story. So, I want to say that I knew about myself since I was like 10.
Uh-huh.
Um, I don't know. It's like I always wanted to play with boys. I always wanted to be around boys, you know. Uh, I don't know, growing up, having those feelings, it wasn't easy. Uh, as I grew older, I'm pretty sure all of us went through the experience of hiding it,
Mm-hmm.
because of that fear of how are we going to be judged, you know. Um, I don't know. As I grew older, age of 18, that's when I decided to come out. Um, it wasn't easy, but how you say it, it wasn't easy for me because I was never supported from anyone,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I lived with family instead of them asking questions as to my sexuality. They chose to kick me out.
Oh,
Yeah. So, at age of 18, you have to like find a way how to survive.
yes.
So my only choice was to drop out of high school, look for a job, and start being responsible, because my family, for some reason, I guess my gayness was gonna rub off on them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So, but as time went on, I don't know, I've thankful that I've met friends along the way. Uh, I don't know, it just it's hard to talk about it.
Oh no, I told, so can I, how old are you now?
I am 48.
Wow. Did
Yeah.
did you ever get to go back and have any kind of a relationship with your family after that?
You know, no, I'm gonna say no. And have at least they tried to make the effort? No, they didn't. You know, so ever since that ever happened at age 16, I've been a loner,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm very thankful for my husband. Him and I we've been together for 22 years.
Oh, sweet. Awesome.
Yeah. So it's good to have him as my husband, my best friend, and my supporter.
Mm-hmm.
So, but besides that, I don't want to say it's been hard, but at age 48, you still go through ignorance, you
Yeah.
know, and I've encountered that at my job at age 48. And it's like, why now? You
Yeah.
know, when when homophobia was so big back then. So why all of a sudden uh things are being said behind my back or things are being written at my job where I'm like, wow, this is actually happening to me right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
So
what resources did you have that helped get you through that difficult time?
to be honest with you, you know, I always say it's best to talk to a stranger than to
Mhm.
somebody you know.
Yeah.
You know, it's always to get that feedback from a stranger because, a stranger, you're not going to see them.
Right.
And as much as you love your friends and everything, if some of them, you come out to them and you, how you say, you open up to them so much and everything. And next thing you know, half of your other friends know about it already. So,
Yeah.
so my advice to everybody is just, you're better off just talking to a stranger. You're not going to see that stranger again, but maybe that feedback, that person that might give you, it might help you out,
Right. Right.
you know. But I am thankful my husband and I created a group in Telegram called Making Pup Friends. And we're up to 300 plus members, and it's going great. And I'm going to tell you this, there are times that I do feel down. And I have a couple of pups in there that do help me out. I'm very thankful that they're there because I talk to them and, we talk to each other and that's what we're there for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, did you have also, as you went through this very difficult time, were there any allies there that helped get you through this as well that you would like to mention or talk about?
Wow. To be honest, with ally, the only, like I said, the only ally I have is just it's the group that we have. And
Yeah.
that's the only support. You know, there's like 300, like I said, there's 300 plus members, and some of the people that you bump into in our group, they're awesome.
Hmm.
And they're very helpful. They're always there for you to hear you out, and vice versa. You know, if they ever needed help, they always reach out.
Yeah. Well, I hate that you had to go through that at such a young age, but the more and more I talk to people, the more and more that's common, and it's just a shame in today's society that it's not accepted more than it is now. It's just
I know.
uh,
Yeah.
and I'll probably do my story as well on one of these podcasts, but I was a very late bloomer. I knew I was, but I didn't come out till I was 34, and I'm
Oh,
59 now,
wow.
almost 60.
Wow, good for you.
And and luckily my family and my mother and father, they're no longer with us, but they accepted it. I'm not sure that they were extremely happy over it, but
Yeah.
they knew if they wanted me in their life that they would have to accept it.
Well, I wish I could have that childhood with my parents, but
Yeah,
there's history there between those two.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's so much history and so much damage
Oh,
that I
I
was, yeah,
now,
I was raised by my grandparents. Let me just
okay,
say that.
all right.
Yeah.
Is both of your parents still living?
No, unfortunately, my mom passed away 3 years ago.
Okay.
My dad, I don't know, he's somewhere in Puerto Rico and I could care less about him.
Yep. Well, hey, that's no need to mention it again. We'll leave it at that. So,
Yeah. I can always talk about him, but it's not good everything that's gonna come out of my mouth about
right.
him.
No, I gotcha. Uh,
So,
and I want this to be about you and not him. So,
exactly.
uh, I just, I just wanted to shed some light on, the good and the bad about coming out, because I'm sure out of all the pups I'm going to interview, we're going to have a mixture of all types of what happened to them, how they did, how they were supported, things like that. And
Yeah,
sometimes talking about it helps heal it a little bit more,
it really does.
and find out that you have support out there. And it sounds like you found that out with your Telegram channel that you've started. And
Yeah.
I guess that's how you found me, is because I think I'm a part of that channel. And I reached out asking for pups, and you
Yes, you did.
responded right away.
I sure did. And I'm gonna tell you this, another things that my husband and I we do here in Massachusetts, especially in our area, we have these events in our house because not a lot of events are around our area.
Uh-huh.
So we make these small events in our house. We have like pool parties and stuff, and I'm gonna tell you this, it's a good turnout sometimes. I got people from Boston, all the way from Albany, all the way down from down Connecticut, and
Oh,
some of them
awesome.
even from New York. Yeah. So every year, so we try to do like an annual thing. So
Mhm.
next year it's gonna be our third year doing
Nice.
our pub events, and so far it's been going great. And like I said, that's another way for us to socialize with other pups, and the majority of the pups that do come here, they're part of our group. They're making
Yes.
pup friends.
Yes. Agreed. Agreed. So,
Hopefully you'll come and join us one of these summer.
oh, it would be so amazing. Uh, I've been in that part of the U.S. before, but I don't think my husband ever has. He's never left Michigan until we moved to Florida. So he,
Florida is
he
too nice and it's hot. It's
yeah, he was
beautiful.
used to the cold weather all the time. This heat in Florida killed him the first year.
I'm so over this cold.
I know, I know, I know. Well, you know, I don't know who all will get to view this. I hope a lot of people do.
I
But
hope they do.
in anything you would like to say before we get off of here, for maybe that pup that hasn't come out yet?
For that pup that hasn't come out yet, my best advice to you is find someone to talk to. Find someone you can rely on. Uh, there are supports out there. You just need to find them. Um, don't put yourself down if you can't find no one. Don't never give up.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And and if the day comes you do find us, we will be here for you.
that's right.
Yes, we will. Wolf.
I couldn't say it any better. And I know sometimes it's difficult, but I just want to be the first one to say thank you for sharing your story.
And
Um,
thank you for doing this podcast. It's awesome that you're doing this.
it's just an idea that came up to me just, I guess it was yesterday or day before, and I've been so
One of our
overwhelmed.
pups did a podcast with you.
Huh?
I say one of our pups did our podcast with you, Echo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Uh, well,
He's a great kid.
it's been such a rewarding thing for me to be able to talk to pups everywhere in the world and find out we may be different in other parts of the world, but we're still pups and we're the same in
Exactly.
that aspect of it. It's awesome.
Hmm.
Well,
And one of the things I also do, I make collars for them.
you do. Oh, I like.
So, that's one of the things that I do for pups, and I sell them for a reasonable price, so like that they can afford them. You go to these other websites and they're just selling them for crazy prices.
Oh, they're
You
expensive.
know,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well,
So,
I love that.
so this is one of my how you say one of my way of uh stamping myself out there.
Yep, you're giving back to the community, so
Yeah,
it's amazing. So,
yeah. And
well,
I'm very happy when every time they get it, I'm very happy for them.
yeah. Oh, I would be too. Yes, yes. Well, it was a pleasure getting to talk to you. Many head rubs and nose bumps and belly rubs for you because I know we all love those things. And I just want to say
Yeah.
thank you for being a part of this.
And I would say thank you for doing this. It's awesome. And
Uh, it,
continue doing it.
oh, I will do it until I can't do it anymore.
And if you ever need me again, you know where to find me.
Oh, yes, sir, I do. Yes, but don't leave. But I just want to say again, thank you, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Hey everyone, it's Pup Twigs here from Orlando, Florida, and our special episode of the National Coming Out Stories. I've got Sterling the Steam Pup with me here today from Orlando, Florida. How's it going?
Woo, it's going good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome and stuff. So, you know, I just thought what a great, special episode we could do and let our pups tell their story of coming out for National Coming Out Day, which will be October the 11th. And so I just want to hear your story.
Yeah. Well, I came out probably in the beginning of 2013. So coming up on my anniversary actually of when I came out. So I came out on January 1st, 2013. Kind of cliche because it was like a New Year, New Me post kind of thing. But growing up, I lived in I wouldn't say heavily religious family. Um, but we did go to church every so often, as much as we could. And I was heavily involved with the church actually. And I'm not like trying to bash the church or anything like that, but I think it was a lot of the reason why it took so long for me to come out was because
Hmm.
of, I think, the stigma of being gay um and how a religion can see how wrong it is.
Right.
So there was a lot of parts of me that tried to hide it for a long time. Um and there would be things that I would try to do to try to not be gay, or have anybody like suspect that I was. Um, I would I would have a girlfriend and things like that. I'd go out on dates, and try to not only convince other people, but try to convince myself that I wasn't this way.
Hmm.
Because for a lot of the time, I felt ashamed for who I was, and because of, having a religious background, that's what caused it, was the trauma of trying to hide it all the time. Um, so I would look for things to try to feel more masculine, or things to help me not feel a certain type of way, but nothing really ever worked when it came to that sort of thing. And I think it's detrimental, honestly, when you think about it, and not being who you truly are. And the amount of time you lose, with yourself, um, and how you see yourself, your self-confidence in yourself, and like a lot of things affect that I don't think a lot of people think about when it comes to suppressing a part of yourself that is so fully immersed in everything you do and everything you say and the places you go and the people you hang out with. So I
Yeah.
think, it wasn't the best upbringing when it came to being nice to myself. Um, but I learned, eventually that this was who I was, and came out with a New Year, New Me post on that day, and sort of just outlined specific things, obviously, but also I wanted everyone to know that I'm still the same person who you know and love. It's
Hmm.
just another fact that you've learned about me.
That's right.
Like, it shouldn't affect how I'm loved. It shouldn't affect any of my relationships. But unfortunately, it does.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the religion is so ingrained in society or even a person that they can't see past that flaw, and make it my problem and everybody else's problem. Um, as I started getting older, I started getting more into myself, and being more confident, because I came out in college. So college was a big step for me, because I was on my own, uh, for the first time. I didn't have my brother with me, who was a big part in growing up because he was with me through everything.
Hmm.
Um, and I think college helped me really come into my own, and really helped me like shape who I was as a gay person, um, and helped me grow even more afterwards. Um, but even so, you know, it takes a while to it takes a while to really like fully realize who you are as a person. And you're still learning stuff about yourself. I probably learn stuff when I'm 50, 60, 70,
Oh, yeah, you will.
there's always things that surprise you when it comes to your self-confidence, and your personality, and the way your brain works, and mental health, and all of that. So, um, I think being gay and fully accepting that has really helped me in my life, despite, a rough upbringing, which I think is true for most, if not every person who's
Hmm.
gay, or in the LGBTQIA plus community. We only want to feel that sense of like acceptance,
Yes.
because you live with yourself every day. So it's important that you like yourself.
That's very true.
Um, but let me take a step back and really like delve into like the religious part of my childhood. My brother wasn't so much a religious person. He was there because Most of my family, went to church and things like that, and worshipped or Christianity and practiced that religion kind of thing. Um, but I was pretty heavily into it. And I will say it's indoctrination at its finest.
Mhm.
You can feel free to, believe what you want, but I think it's a very heavy, my goodness, form of indoctrination, and control. And I think that it's got a hand on a lot of things in society, even nowadays. Lots of laws are being made
Oh,
without any, thing to like church and state, like a separation of church and state and things like that. Like religion shouldn't influence laws whatsoever, but it
right.
does, and that's, unfortunate. And there's still a lot of work that needs to be done when it comes to that sort of thing.
Agreed.
But as a child, I didn't know any better. I was following the adults who wanted me to follow them. Um, I didn't have any sort of, guidance except from them. So,
Hmm.
when you're a kid, you think adults know everything, and you get your all of your influence from them. But as an adult myself, now you just see that everybody's making up as they go along.
You're right.
And so I think that's important to note too. But because of my religion, I heavily suppressed a lot of myself and was even told, I was suspected of being gay. And so my legal guardian at the time, she was like, being gay is wrong and you can go to hell for it. So it's like you get that ingrained into your mind, that that is the worst possible thing that could ever happen to anybody, is going to hell. Or a literal or symbolic form of it, whatever
Yes.
you believe. Um, but I think it's like that part, is used as control, and because of that, I felt, you know, I didn't want to come out for the longest time because not only did I feel exasperated because of that, but I felt like I was, put into a corner, and I didn't know what to do with how I was feeling versus what I was being taught.
Yeah.
Um, and making that distinction of, well, this is how I feel and this is who I am. Why is it so wrong to love the same sex? I
Hmm.
didn't understand why it was such a bad thing. Um, just because this book said so. But, it also comes down to a lot of hypocrisy in the religion itself,
Yeah.
and how it, doubles back on itself and repeats things or things that don't make sense. And then you see the people who want to point fingers at you saying, look how bad you're doing it. Look at you, look at you, look at you. And then they're not following the religion to a T either. So it was very confusing, growing up and
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
being able to ask questions and get answers. The thing was always just have faith, or God works in mysterious ways. And
How
I
many
think
times have I heard
that's
that?
it's just like that's the default answer, and there is no answer because we don't know.
Hmm.
So that was a big part of my childhood, was being so religious and also being so scared, excuse me, of being so scared of, being who I wanted to be and who I should be,
Yeah.
the best version of myself. Because as far as we know, we only live one life. And I want to live it the best I can, the most authentic I can.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, that played a huge part. And I think also my siblings and my cousins also played a big part in me coming out too. I knew I had a huge support system behind me. Um, and I still do, to a certain extent. Obviously, though, there's some family I don't talk to anymore or friends I don't have anymore. But
Yeah.
or people who have passed away, but I still have, the people who I need and the people who I want in my circle.
And that's
Because
what I
it's
was
not
going to
about
ask is,
quantity, it's about quality.
you
So,
know, just what kind of support did you get from your siblings and your family?
um, when I told my mom, she didn't care, not so much like she cared, but she didn't like it wasn't something that was bad to her.
Right.
Her first words were "I love you," who you are no matter what. Um, like it's not going to change anything, which is what I wanted. I don't
Yes.
want people to see me any differently than how you see me growing up because there's nothing different about me. It's just,
Right.
like I said before, it's about who you love, and it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, you're going to live your life the way you live your life, and I'm going to live my life the way I live mine.
Yep.
And it doesn't really affect, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't affect each other on a day-to-day basis. So I don't see why it matters so much to some people. But my brother was also a big supporter of me. And my mom and brother actually admitted that they had like talks about me being like suspecting that I was. My mother told me apparently that she knew since I was 4 years old. So they were just waiting for me to admit it,
Yeah,
which I
yes.
think is kind of funny. Because I always used to play like house growing up with my brother. Um, so like he would always wear my dad's clothes and I was always wear my mom's clothes. So I think that was kind of funny. Um, but yeah, those two people were really influential in helping me come out. And also, I'm gonna mention somebody else. My good friend Tai Chi, who I went to college with. He's always been supportive of me. We went to high school together. We were college roommates, and we studied the same major. So we were, in it to win it with each other when it came to school and all that sort of thing. And I lived with him for a few years, so he saw my journey from the very beginning. Um, when it came to knowing me as a person in high school when I didn't come out and having him there as a supporter when I did come out and me helping or him helping me fully realize who I was super beneficial to me in college
Hmm.
because there was a time in college when um I had met some guy on the college campus. And I remember going over to his dorm. I wasn't out at this point. I had gone to his dorm and we had fooled around a little bit. And that was the first person who I ever did any type of like, same sex whatever with.
Hmm.
And I remember that night coming home and I felt so ashamed. I felt disgusting. I felt ashamed of myself. I felt like this was the worst possible thing that could ever happen, because of growing up, and I feel like having that religion ingrained into me of always feeling ashamed of who I was because of uh, the person that I loved.
Yeah.
And so I remember coming into the dorm and Tai Chi was there, and he or um, they noticed something that was wrong and they asked me what was wrong and whatnot, and I just burst into tears in their arms, and just feeling so, I don't know, just defeated because I didn't know what to do with these feelings and how to navigate them and, the repercussions and the consequences that could come from this choice. Um, And then realizing that, this was the first step in my journey. I didn't realize it then, but I'm realizing it now, like that like fast tracked me to becoming who I was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is I was actually supposed to go to a um, like a Nazarene college, um, which is like a type of, I guess a branch of Christianity. And I got like a half ride there, which is a pretty good scholarship. But there was something in my mind that said, don't go. Um, and so I ended up going to college with Tai Chi. And that's when I came out. And I feel like if I had gone to a Bible college, I wouldn't have, I don't think I would have turned out the same way. Um, because I feel like that same uh feeling of shame would, wash over me. And it might drive me further back into the closet as opposed to, living on my own in college and making those choices that really benefited me in the long run.
Yes.
So I think I made a good choice there and following my gut on that one. Um, so yeah. I also remember I was finally ready to like tell people. So at the time I was dating a girl and if I was straight, I know I would marry her in a heartbeat because
Hmm.
her and I were so compatible. Um, and she was the love of my life. I loved her for a very long time after we broke up, and I still love her now. Um, which and like in my mind, that just goes to show me that like it isn't a choice. Um, because I have so much love for this person that I wanted to marry them so much and still love them. But because I'm gay, I really, that wouldn't be the best relationship ever.
Right.
But
Right.
um, but she was one of the first people I told because she and I were, attached at the hip and we just probably one of the most compatible couples. If I wasn't gay, I'm pretty sure we still would have been together and married and have children and things like that. But that's a different timeline and a different universe. So,
Well, it's good to see that you had the support when you did come out because we hear the stories of people that come out and they don't get the support from their family, which is, just horrible for them. And I just wish there was something that could be done, but unfortunately, there's not.
right.
But well,
Yeah, I wish I could, help everybody, but it's certainly impossible, it feels sometimes. But I
yeah,
think you having this get together and this podcast and things, it goes to show you that sometimes your biggest support isn't blood,
that's right. That's right.
and it's the family you make because of it, and the people who you surround yourself with that'll be your biggest supporters. And sometimes it is disappointing because you grew up with those people and they supported you up until this point, and then all of a sudden, because of one fact that they learn about somebody, then all of a sudden it changes everything.
I
And I
know
think
it's ridiculous, but
it's,
it happens.
yeah, it's astonishing.
Yeah. Well, let's say there's somebody that's right on the fence right now, and they log in and they watch all these coming out stories. They don't know yet for sure if they want to come out or not. What kind of advice would you give them?
I would say don't force it. Um, you only know yourself as better than anybody could ever know you. Um, do it when you feel the time is right and you feel ready. Um, I don't think anybody should feel pressured to come out
Right.
just because everybody is doing it, if you want to go with those layman's terms. But I feel like because in society it is more widely accepted than it was before, there's a lot more people coming out because of it. And some people might say that that's, it's because it's a fad or something, but it's not. It's because people feel more comfortable in who they are and they're fully invested in themselves. So, my advice is do it when you know you're ready and not only ready for the love and support that you'll get, but also ready for the amount of love and support you won't get
Yeah,
because you can either get a lot of each or none at all from each. And I think that that's something that people have to be prepared for because it can be heartbreaking. But there's also people who will pick up those broken pieces and put you back together.
that's right. Nothing like good extended family, and that's what I feel like. We have a fantastic group of pups that,
Yeah.
for me, is my family. And I haven't even been in the group for very long, and
Right.
I look forward to being able to talk to them, hang out with them, do things with them. It's just so much fun having that support.
I feel you there.
Well, it was awesome getting to learn your story. I want to thank you for opening up and sharing it with us because it was amazing.
Wow, thank you so much for having this. It's therapeutic to talk about it because I feel like not a lot of people talk about the coming out story very often.
Yeah.
So it's nice to relive some memories and also have, documentation of it in case when I get older and I don't remember it at all. So
Yeah.
can always think back on it. Um, yeah, nothing, and you never know what's going to happen. So it's nice to have some proof of a story because everybody has a story, no matter where you go.
That is
Um,
exactly right. We all do.
and that's, I think, the most important is our stories help us bring us together, even when we're feeling completely alone.
Yeah.
There's always somebody that will be there for you. So,
Yeah. Agreed. Well, Sterling, it's been awesome getting to catch up with you again, and hopefully it won't be the last time.
oh yeah, definitely not the last time. I'll come make a guest appearance anytime you want.
Oh, we'll plan some more.
Perfect.
Well, you have a enjoy your day.
Thank you so much, Twigs. I hope you have a great day too.
Thank you.